Doom Eternal. One of the greatest shooters ever made. Oh yeah, it's fast. It's bloody. It's awesome. Hi everyone, Rosnick here again, and I decided to make this video to talk about the release and 4th anniversary of one of my favorite games ever made, Doom Eternal. It's honestly weird to say that a game is now the same age as me when I first started playing video games as a whole. I've never been much of a new game guy. Before owning Doom Eternal, the most recent game I played was Fortnite. But in 2019, when I finally got my hands on an Xbox One S and Game Pass to boot, I saw one game that caught my attention in the Microsoft Store. That game was Doom 2016. Sure, I'd heard of Doom before. My dad had it on his computer, and I was aware of the jokes regarding the angry green boy and his rather large gun, but I'd never played a Doom game before. That is, until I played Doom 2016 for the first time. And what I did, I couldn't stop. I played that game to death. Beating it on hurt me plenty at first, then Ultraviolence, and then Nightmare. No, I still haven't done an Ultra Nightmare run. I'm too scared. But after my conquest and fun had come to a close, I heard about something new on the horizon. A game that I would come to love even more so than 2016. A few months after the release of Doom Eternal, I finally got my hands on a copy of it for the Xbox. And I played the hell out of it. Before then, I kept myself engaged with the soundtrack game rips that frequented YouTube, as well as watching various content creators that made videos on it, while trying not to spoil the game for myself. Getting the chance to play for the first time was an eye-opening experience, and as I fought and grinded my way up to the top, I enjoyed myself more and more. The combat felt seamless and refreshing. Despite it being in the same story, Doom Eternal is not Doom 2016 2. It's an iconic masterpiece that separated from, and even eclipsed its predecessor in almost its entirety. I fell in love with the unique world, ambiences, and the characters. I felt rewarded after finishing a level that took time to beat, and I always felt like I had something to learn, some way to improve upon my skills to become the best Slayer possible. I remember staying up really late on the couch in the living room outside my parents' bedroom, staying as silent as I could while playing until 4 in the morning, trying to beat an encounter that was giving me trouble. Doom Eternal is an experience that everyone should play through at least once. The campaign is amazing. The level design and enemies, except for maybe a handful, make for an unforgettable experience and an entourage of enemies to slay and dismember. Of course, what Doom game is complete without a killer soundtrack? Crafted by the one and only Mick Gordon himself. Famous for his work in games like Prey, Killer Instinct 2013, Atomic Heart, of course Doom 2016, and M. Night Shyamalan's Avatar: The Last Airbender for the Nintendo Wii and DS. I know there were things that happened behind closed doors that we couldn't see. And in spite of everything he went through, Mick did it out of love for the franchise and for the people that played it for the last 27 years. The soundtrack itself is nothing short of jaw-dropping. You have absolute headbangers such as Meat Hook, The Super Gore Nest, Metal Hell, and the ever iconic, The Only Thing They Fear Is You. And while these themes are amazing, let's take a moment to examine the other soundtracks, such as the Sentinel level's ambience track. The ghostly choir that echoes the dead halls of the so-called paradise that is Urdak. And probably my personal favorite track in the game, Level 4's intro combat theme, named by some Doom Hunted. The base campaign was just scratching the surface though. A little over half a year later and we'd be given the Ancient Gods Part 1, and then another 5 months after that, the Ancient Gods Part 2. The Ancient Gods Part 1 and 2, from here on out referred to as Tag 1 and Tag 2 respectfully, are expansions to the story and gameplay of Doom Eternal. Both campaigns have 3 levels, not counting the boss ones, and are at least a good 5 extra hours of blood-spilling carnage. My original thoughts going to the DLC were mixed. I love the levels, music, new enemies, and so on. But when I first played through Tag 1, I was in way over my head. I confidently strolled in thinking I could just play through it and nothing bad had happened. After all, I had just come off beating the Icon of Sin. But boy, was I wrong. I died so many times. And I complained about that. Though, frankly, you could say that was just a giant skill issue. I've been going light in the gameplay until this point, so let's fix that. The game director, Hugo Martin, wanted to emphasize player accountability, and as such, coined the term the Fun Zone. The Fun Zone exists as a state of mind where the player is tuned in with the game, its mechanics, and its systems and quirks. If you played the game without respecting it, you were going to be punished. Embrace it, and you'll find success, and maybe find out something interesting about how the game works. This philosophy continued into the DLCs, but was cranked up a notch because, well, it's a DLC. Mostly. id Software made something beautiful with these expansions, adding to the story, characters, world, and music. What? Did you think they weren't going to have music for the DLCs? id Software hired 2 new composers to fill the role that Mick left behind, those being Andrew Hulshult and David Levy. Andrew Hulshult is also a reputable name in the Quake clone/arena shooter genre, contributing to games like Dusk, Proteus, which released in the same year as Doom Eternal, and as of this year, Wrath, Aeon of Ruin. Hulshult's contributions to the soundtrack were amazing. Combat themes such as the Blood Swamps, Reclaimed Earth, and the World Spear. His ambience work is actually underrated in my opinion. I love that he has a very gothic and horror-esque style of designing ambience tracks. I can see that his work on Dusk really had an influence on his work in Tag 1. David Levy is the other composer of Tag 1 and 2. And his contributions were just as awe-inspiring as Hulshult's. David Levy was responsible for absolute bangers such as UAC Atlantica, The Trial of Malagog, and my favorite of his work, Imora. Levy, while previously unknown to me by name, has actually had the most impact in my life far longer than the other two composers. David Levy, for those who don't know, was actually a composer for the soundtrack of Red vs. Blue. Yes, that Red vs. Blue. As well as Ruby X the Justice League. Kinda weird that he's been working for Rooster Teeth for a little bit. Levy's synth work, as well as his unique rhythms in his music, captivate me immensely. Now more so than ever that I'm kind of paying attention to that stuff. Doom Eternal: The Ancient Gods Part 1 and 2 are both worthy add-ons to this game, and the music and the gameplay follow suit in that statement. Just as a side note, I'm kind of staying away from the story of each of these games, mostly because it's not really my thing to talk about. And if you haven't played these, I guess this is spoiler-free. Doom Eternal is an amazing game, with amazing people behind it, both in development and in the community. It's a unique experience that pushes the player to success, allowing them to earn their power fantasy and become the Doomslayer. Having an unforgettable cast of characters, a soundtrack that'll keep you headbanging and your heart pumping, and a combat loop that redefined arena shooters and video games to this day. It's hard to believe time went by so fast. But at the very least, I'm glad that I was able to spend it playing this. Thank you, id Software, and the amazing people who helped make this game go down in history as timeless. Nay, eternal. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was really fun going back and playing through this game again to celebrate its 4th anniversary. I'll leave links to Mick Gordon, Andrew Holschult, and David Levy in the description. Seriously, give their stuff a listen. Doom is barely scratching the surface of what these guys are capable of making. And as always, I'm your favorite B-letter YouTuber, Brosnick, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Zug Zug.